Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Energy Taiwan Forum. The forum is supervised by the Ministry of Economic Affairs, organized by the Bureau of Energy, MOEA, Green Energy Industry Promotion Center, and the ECCT, as well as SEMI. The co-organizer is TAITRA. And in the afternoon session, we have great content.
Up to the stage for group photos. 让我们欢迎金元福郭哲宏副总经理，欢迎保时捷通路发展处吴海峰处长 Mr. Ralph Woolman Business Development Director at Porsche， 欢迎亚东工业气体总裁 Mr. Olivier Letizier President of Air Liquide Far Eastern Taiwan。好，我们先请台上的贵宾暂时把口罩脱下来。Can you please remove the mask temporarily for group photos?Please look at the cameras right in front of you. 请看向前方的摄影镜头。好，请给我们一个赞。Please give us a thumb up. Together, we wish our afternoon session every success. Thank you very much. Thank you. 谢谢下午的讲师，谢谢。
Next speaker.is Mr. Olivier Letizier, the president from Air Liquide Far Eastern. The topic is scaling up from industrial to smarter hydrogen in Taiwan. He has been engaging in the air liquid industry for many years. Let's welcome Mr. Olivier Letizier.
Afternoon. So I was offered to remove my mask, so I do this with pleasure. I've been in Taiwan for a couple of months now. I was based in France. And do you know what kind I was driving while I was in France? You probably don't know. It was not a Porsche. But it was a hydrogen car. So for the last 5 years, I was going to the office, visiting customers, taking my family around over the weekend with a hydrogen car. For some of you, hydrogen and hydrogen car might sound like, still under development, maybe science fiction. And for some of you, it is a reality. It has been for me for 5 years. My name is Olivier. I'm the Managing Director of Air Liquide Far Eastern, and I'm pleased to be with you today on behalf of Air Liquide to talk about hydrogen as a whole. And we'll be talking also a little bit about hydrogen mobility. Maybe. Okay, all right. So just a few words about Air Liquide. Air Liquide is the expert in what we call at Air Liquide the essential small molecules. Nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, CO2, and a few others. Yes, they are small, yet they take part in every single life cycles on Earth. For you to breathe, what you're composed of, your life. So they are essential to life, matter and energy. And over the last 100+ years, Air Liquide has developed this expertise and is recognized today by its peers, by its customers as the experts on a variety of applications. Today we have more than 3 million customers and customers and patients. That goes from the early years of Air Liquide supplying these molecules to our customers in the steel industry, or for welding type activities, all the way to space. 40 years ago, we started in the semiconductor, healthcare, and more recently, specifically in hydrogen over the last 30 years for a variety of applications. We've been in Taiwan for 35 years soon, and we are investing heavily, especially in the semiconductor activities. The last 2 years, we invested 15 billion NT, and a few more projects are coming in the next coming years. So I just wanted to show those two pictures on the slide. On the one on your left, and this shows also the variety of what Air Liquide does. The left picture is our latest innovation campus in the south of Paris, where we have 450 researchers and innovators looking at a variety of applications. This is where we work on biogas, on optimizing our processes, on working on the extra low temperatures for space exploration. But Air Liquide is also what you see on the right-hand side, which is a typical Air Liquide plants with liquids, nitrogen storage, and air separation at the back. And with all this breadth of knowledge and technology, we feel we are very prepared to continue to support our customers with sustainable, competitive solutions. So let me give you some, oops, sorry. We have been talking a lot about sustainability. It is clearly one of our pillars at Air Liquide. We have committed for carbon neutrality for 2050. The first industrial gas company in the world to commit to this, with a clear path to this neutrality. I will save you the intermediate step, but by 2035, 33% of our direct emission will be abated, and by 2050, carbon neutrality. How are we going to do this? And for me to explain this, maybe give you some examples of where we emit CO2 today. Roughly half Air Liquide's emissions are what we consider scope 1. We produce our gases. For example, hydrogen is historically produced by steam methane reforming, which produces CO2. This is a quarter of our emission, and half of our direct emission. The other half is either cogeneration or transport. You may have seen Air Liquide trucks on the road, but those trucks today, they run with diesel or LNG for some of those, and they do produce CO2. The other half is our scope 2 emission, but Air Liquide is using a lot of electricity to run its compressors to do the separation between the different gases. So our ambition is, of course, to be carbon neutral and to reduce these emissions. Let me give you some examples of what we're actively doing to either do what we do today, but do it even more efficiently. That's one activity. Second is produce our gases in a different way. And third is find a new application. So to look at the scope 1, capturing CO2 is a technology that is already available and commercially and technically viable. We have had a full-scale CO2 capture for the last 6 years running at the back end of a steam methane reformer to capture that CO2 as an example. The other is use or produce and use biogas as the starting material. If you use biogas, then the hydrogen you will produce will be low carbon hydrogen. At the bottom of the picture, you'll see also electrolysis. I will mention more about it later, but Air Liquide are investing heavily in developing this technology as an alternative to producing hydrogen. Talking about our scope 2, obviously, as I mentioned, do what we do today already really well, do it more efficiently, and retiring some of our old assets and starting new ones that are more efficient. Also, leverage data science, artificial intelligence, and the massive amount of data that we have available to run our plants more efficiently. This is all what is behind what we call SIO, Smart Innovative Operations, which is a system we put in place at Air Liquide to control all our operating plants and compare one versus another and identify and run the plants at their most effective point. And the last piece, which was mentioned earlier, which is applicable to all Air Liquide, but also specifically in Taiwan, is to identify secure long-term renewable power access. I'm sure, this whole conference is all about renewable power. We do, of course, have our own ambition to capture some of this renewable power available to run our assets and contribute to sustainability. Now let's move on to a slightly, another topic which I addressed earlier. Can you guess what this is? Maybe the light is not that easy. I'll help you. It has to do with the Olympics. This was a picture taken at the Tokyo Olympics this summer, which is the first time that we use hydrogen to fire the Olympic flame. So even though they probably put some special tricks to make it look yellow, because the hydrogen flame is actually not visible in daylight, this was hydrogen. Another example that was featured in Tokyo is a hydrogen fuel cell bus. All the athletes were moved around the Olympic village using hydrogen technology. Actually, the Olympics in Tokyo was a showcase of all the possible technology available today and implemented in Japan on hydrogen. Now, hydrogen, as we see it, as Air Liquide sees it, and we're not the only one seeing it, those numbers were taken from the Hydrogen Council study that was launched in 2017, give you a perspective of how big hydrogen will be in 2050. I talked briefly about the ability to consider hydrogen as a source of energy. This study shows that 80% of the needs of energy could be fulfilled with hydrogen. Has a massive amount to reduce carbon emissions. 6 gigabytes could be abated using hydrogen technology. And also a significant market size, $2.5 trillion business by 2050, and an opportunity also for job creation. The estimated is about 30 million jobs that could be created with this market. So, to give you an example of what can be used, let's watch this video together. So this gives you an idea of one of the many applications of hydrogen to use as a buffer of energy. And I'll comment this in a minute. So hydrogen, first I forgot to mention it, but hydrogen is believed to be the element that is the most present in the universe. More than 90% of the universe is hydrogen. So it is readily, it is available in large quantity. However, on Earth, it is not available in large quantities because it is very light. So it disappears, it takes off. So when you want to have your hydrogen, you have to produce it locally. The good news is it's fairly easy to produce hydrogen. We've been doing this for many decades. And with the development of electrolysis and accessible renewable power, just like in the video I just showed, we can combine both technology and produce hydrogen, store it, and reuse it later when renewable power is not available. The applications of hydrogen are numerous, from storage of energy to be used as a stock or a feedstock, sorry. And hydrogen is very stable. You can store it for many, many years. Actually, the few sources of hydrogen available on Earth that are anthropogenic have been there for thousands of years. Now, when we talk about sustainability and energy transition, we understand there are at least 4 pillars to enable this energy transition. One is to be more efficient in the energy we use. So improve the insulation in a house, use LED lights, this type of technology, carbon capture and storage or utilization, switch to zero-emission energy, or use, of course, of renewable power. Where does hydrogen fit in? Based on the studies that were done by the Hydrogen Council, we estimate that 18% of the energy requirement could be brought by hydrogen. The #1 application is transportation. So whether it's heavy or light-duty vehicles, it's about 30% of it. Then comes in purple the industrial application as a feedstock or as an energy source. And then after in power generation, especially also for houses. In terms of technology that is available to support this and use the hydrogen, lots of technology are existing today and are being already implemented. I mentioned about cars, in the middle section, you find all the transportation, eventually 30% of the use of hydrogen. Cars, you probably know many car manufacturers are considering or have already available hydrogen cars, which, as mentioned by Ralph earlier, hydrogen car is an electric car. It's just a different way to store the energy. Trucks, buses, eventually planes, boats, the applications are numerous. But hydrogen is not one size fits all. It's not going to fit for everybody and everything, but will be complementary to other technologies, such as, for example, electric cars. In terms of industrial energy sources, this is an application that has already been identified, and for which we already have engaged with some of our customers. ArcelorMittal, for example, for our steel manufacturing, is using low carbon hydrogen as part of the direct reduced iron oven. Talking now about hydrogen mobility, I talked about my experience with the hydrogen car. It really started with forklifts already in the early 2012, 2013, which is now readily available technology used by many companies today and large companies. Some of the applications are more recent but accelerating is when it comes to heavy duty trucks. It's definitely one of them. Buses. We're also discussing with the boat companies, eventually cruise ships, even planes. So the applications are numerous. The maturity of the technology, not necessarily there, but a lot of resources, innovation put into developing this and to industrialize those applications. One I want to emphasize, which was launched aside from the COP21 in 2015, was an initiative of a startup company in Paris called Hype, which was all about starting a taxi service using hydrogen cars. So they started in 2015 with 5 cars. At the end of 2021, they will have 600 cars driving around Paris and providing taxi service to its customers using hydrogen as energy source. So in the interest of time, I will skip the video, but it is available on the presentation. And let's move on one important topic that people talk about is safety. And let me just have a look at this video first. So I encourage you to visit the Hydrogen Council website, which has lots of videos and tutorials about many of the questions that you might have about hydrogen. Safety definitely being the one that comes every single time. Probably people don't remember that I've seen the Hindenburg hydrogen balloon burning into flames in the late 1937, I think. But what people don't really necessarily know is that what was burning was not the hydrogen, but the envelope around the balloon. Anyways, definitely this is a topic that Air Liquide is also looking at, and making sure our customers are fully aware and the question answered when it comes to safety. Talking about the Hydrogen Council, which was formed in 2017, first 13 companies and today more than 100 companies, realizing the true potential of hydrogen as one of the levers in the energy transition, and are working together to share resources, knowledge, to accelerate the development of this supply chain as well as its industries. And so every year we get more and more members. Okay. Now let's move away a little bit from the hydrogen mobility and talk about hydrogen as an energy source. We have mentioned earlier in the presentation access to renewable power. Areas like Taiwan or other geographies don't necessarily have existing renewable power available, and even the plans to expand the renewable power probably won't suffice versus the needs that are expected. So how do you bring energy from other geographies, especially renewable energy, to areas like Taiwan or Korea or Japan? One way is by using hydrogen. Hydrogen or close to ammonia is another one. Another molecule called LOHC, which is a liquid organic hydrogen carrier. Those are three different ways to move energy around. Hydrogen being the energy content that you move around from areas where it is produced using renewable energy to areas where renewable power and energy sources are not available. And here I'll just show with a couple of arrows to illustrate what is happening right now in the world, areas such as Saudi Arabia, Chile, but Australia also, heavily investing in production of renewable power, call it photovoltaic or even windmills, being able to produce this energy, doing electrolysis to produce hydrogen, and eventually put hydrogen or ammonia on a boat and then moving to areas where this energy is wanted. Japan, Korea, maybe Taiwan could be customers of these type of product in the future. Now, the hydrogen value chain is fairly well understood, and as you probably saw with the examples I gave, quite heavily available today and industrialized, from the production of energy that allows us to do electrolysis to produce the hydrogen, the different supply chain, whether it's the more heavy-duty ones where you would use liquid hydrogen because you have a ability to move more product at the same time, or the gas supply chain for mobility applications, cars, trucks, eventually trains and planes, or also industrial applications. Air Liquide is active in each of these sectors with industrial partners willing to understand and implement hydrogen as one of their solutions for their own sustainable plans. Some example to finish. This is mostly on the production of hydrogen over the last 6 or 7 years, where Air Liquide has invested hundreds of millions of euros in infrastructures, whether it's for electrolyzers. I want to mention one in particular because today this is still the largest proton exchange membrane electrolyzer in operation in the world. This was inaugurated in late 2020 in Canada. To our partnerships with Siemens, also with Total, ArcelorMittal, on applications related to use of hydrogen for industrial needs. To all the efforts that Air Liquide has been involved in over the last almost 10 years now in hydrogen mobility in Japan, in the US, in Europe, in Korea, in China, and maybe why not someday in Taiwan. And just to illustrate this, a few more focus on the local geographies. So in Japan, very heavy on hydrogen, the hydrogen nation, we could call them. Something I haven't mentioned yet is why these countries are being successful is because of, or thanks to heavy involvement of the authorities, the government, in really supporting the development of such infrastructures. So it is very much the case in Japan, the example of the Tokyo Olympics, with hydrogen being showcased at every opportunity, and lots of investment to develop the infrastructure so that the cars can be, or the trucks can be on the road and fill the tanks. So this is the case Japan. In China, maybe a little later, but we know the ability for China to kind of catch up and put a lot of resources. So this is not part of their 14th five-year plan for development, where hydrogen is clearly part of it, and an acceleration in terms of infrastructure, number of cars and trucks on the roads. Clearly, hydrogen will be in China a big energy vector. Korea, more recently, but also a fast plan with Hyundai leading the charge when it comes to vehicles for cars, as well as for trucks. And I want to highlight news that was published a few weeks ago. This is the picture of the Incheon airport, where Air Liquide and the airport signed a partnership to use hydrogen to fuel the buses that shuttle around passengers to get to their plane. When it comes to Taiwan, we don't see much of this yet. The market hasn't reached the same maturity. However, we get a lot of questions about what could happen for Taiwan. I just want to highlight what Air Liquide still is doing in terms of hydrogen and renewable hydrogen, but then specifically for the semiconductor industry. In February of this year, we reached industrial production for our very first high-purity electrolyzer. This is in Tainan, and 5 more are going to be installed in the months to come to support the semiconductor industry in the next generation of chip production. And when fueled with renewable energy, this would supply to our customer low-carbon hydrogen. Another example, and I closed here, this is an existing Air Liquide facility in Taiwan where we have a methanol cracker producing hydrogen. But you see here in the reaction, it does produce CO2. So we are now building a CO2 capture unit, which will capture the CO2 so it's not re-emitted, for applications in either the food industry as well as in the semiconductor. This will be operational sometimes next year. And I'll finish with our vision of what hydrogen energy could be in Taiwan. Taiwan has clearly lots of nice features. It is a very dense, very developed country, nice infrastructures, opportunities for trucks, strategy for developing renewable power, and the government and the city is also getting a lot more attention and interest in type of technologies such as hydrogen. So I have one hope, and I'm actually fairly confident that by the time I leave Taiwan, my successor will have the choice of his or her car to be a hydrogen car. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Letizier, for your insightful talk. Thank you very much.好，那接下来我们要进行今天。
Now we are moving to topic 3, new fashion of green living to an eco-friendly and sustainable future. Our next speaker is Mr. Benjamin Kuo, the Vice President from King Yuan Fu. He is going to share with us the topic Sustainability for Plastics, KYF's blueprint for carbon emission reduction. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Benjamin Kuo, the Vice President from King Yuan Fu. You can also call me Ben. I'm very glad to have this opportunity to share with you how a traditional industry in Taiwan promotes sustainable development for our own company. Starting from 2018, we have do a lot of sustainable measurements. And today we are going to focus on 4 major directions. First, I'm going to talk about King Yuan Fu. And then why do we focus on sustainability? And third, I'm going to share with you what are our sustainable actions. And then what are our decarbonization roadmaps.
可以帮我跳出一下吗？不好意思。上一页，谢谢。
Okay, and so the last part of my presentation will be our decarbonization roadmap. So these are the 4 major topics of my presentation today. So KYF, our company, is a family-owned business. And Mr. Chi Chen established the company in 1978, so it's already 44 years of history of the company. So we are not only engaging in the plastic containers, but our major business is in food containers production. And last year, our revenue is almost reached 190 million US dollars. So we are one of the largest plastic supplier in the Southeast Asia. So the materials we use are PET and also PP as well as PLA. So actually, everyone would use one of our products every day, whether you go to supermarkets or to purchase some food from restaurants, you would use the food containers we produced. So our business is actually growing every year, and the demand from the market is also growing, especially in the past 2 years due to COVID-19. Everyone is forbidden to eat in restaurants. They would purchase dishes to take out and also order Uber Eats or Foodpanda as the delivery service for their meals. So in the past 2 years, we are seeing great demand of the food containers we produce. And these are our 3 factories. Our factories are mainly in the northern part of Taiwan, and 95% of our products will export to foreign markets. Only 5% of our products stays in Taiwan, but we provide our products to major food brands in Taiwan like Yimei or Laurent. And most of our products use PET or rPET. So this is the history of KYF, but of course we don't have too much time to share the details with you. But basically we can have 5 phases of our development. The first part or the first phase of our company actually is all about surviving. But gradually we expand our export market, and then we move toward our domestic market. So our main target will be reduce the manufacturing cost of our products. And when the second generation of the family took over the company, they started to think about how to help the company to survive and to become sustainable, to live for another 40 years or longer. So they believe that we should really take some action to achieve the sustainable development. And that is why we started to establish our SDGs and also a special task force for sustainable development. So what are our challenges and what are the impact of sustainable development? From our perspective, we like to provide our customers the products that can make their life easier and more convenient. However, more and more people consider that plastic containers are the source of pollution. And as the manufacturing of these plastic containers, we should take the responsibility of solve the issue of pollution. So we started to find a way to seek a balance between production and growth with the environmental protection. That is the reason why we formulated our new mission statement. We put the word reliable and sustainable into our mission statement because we would like to help our customers to use sustainable materials or to produce sustainable products. So this is our sustainability targets. We are seeking to make contributions to the environment, and we want to be environmental friendly. We consider how our products will impact the environment and how to minimize its impact to the environment. And the circular economy would be one of the most useful way for us to reuse our products. We would like to bring positive impacts to our stakeholders. So from 2018, we started to step on the path of sustainability. From the beginning, actually, we didn't know how to do this. So we go to the websites of many big brands and to understand what are their SDGs and how they realize their goals. So gradually, in 2019, we produced our first CSR report, and at that time, it was only one-page report, very short, very simple. But after 2 or 3 years, we realized that we should systematically formulate our SDG. And so in 2021, we established our ESG committee and also set our carbon inventory and CFP, and also we will produce our first GRI standard CS report. So KYF is not a public company, but we are willing to do this, and we hope that we can lead the industry to move toward this direction. So this is the framework of our sustainability strategy. So we have this environment, society, and governance, 3 pillars of our framework. And in the environment part, reduce, reuse, recycle are very familiar with everyone. But we think from the society's perspective, we should take more responsibility and to rethink how do we innovate our products. And of course, this will help us to improve ourselves, and that will lead to our governance, that is to revamp ourselves. So this is how we move forward and how we roll out our steps. So this is the ESG actions we developed from our framework. And we cannot go into details, but I think it's quite clear for you to see from the slide. But today, what we want to share with you is 2 of them. Because we are a manufacturing company, we produce products. So how do we exert our influence in our position? We think the most important one is carbon reduction, and also have better power efficiency. And the circular economy, of course, is another important part. So first of all, I would like to talk about circular economy. I wonder if you know that in the plastic industry, we have this graph. I don't know if you are familiar with this graph or not. This is a graph produced by Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and they published this graph in like 2013 or 2014. From the graph, you can see that only 14% of the plastic were recycled, and 40% of the plastics went to landfill, and 32% are leakage, which means that it will go into the ocean or in the forest or other places. So only 2% of the plastics are really entered into the closed loop recycling. What is closed loop recycling? That is, if the product is a bottle and it is recycled, then produce a bottle again, that would be a closed loop recycling. But if not, it will become a waste. So this is what we should work on, because we need to improve the recycle rate of this material.
So we have devised our internal plan, and we work with our external partners because we want to increase the portion of recycled materials. And this year we reach a 20% target, meaning that 20% of our materials are recycled materials. And we're going to increase that portion year by year. In addition to using more recycled materials, is there any other benefit? Yes, that is to reduce carbon emissions. According to statistics, using recycled materials compared to using new materials can reduce 60% of carbon emissions, because there's no need to use or to develop new resources, because plastics were developed from fossil fuels. So if we continue to use them and reuse them, we can cut down the use of fossil fuels. Say if we sell 500,000 tons of products, and if we're able to use 100% recycled materials, then we're able to reduce our carbon emission by 90,000 tons every year. That's the benefits, and that's also our goal. How do we achieve that? And bottle to bottle is an approach for plastic wraps, like for Coke containers. Through the PCR recycling process, the plastics can be recycled and reused. And so, and we use the clamshell to clamshell approach, meaning that after we sell the product, we recollect them, recycle them, and we turn them into another product. In Taiwan, we produce a PCR from our suppliers from the upstream, and much of our market is overseas, especially in North America. So we invested in a new factory in Mexico to collect and to recycle the materials from U.S. consumers. These materials are washed in Mexico. Next year, we will build another new factory to process those materials, to process it, and to resell those materials as products. That will build a closed loop. And that's how we can achieve using more PCR. This shows you the results. Great products, recollected, recycled, washed, remade, and resold. For our clients to understand our approach, and in order to communicate better with local regions, we create a new brand called Again, meaning to use it again. And this brand is to promote the recycling of used materials. In the past, it was hard to promote such an idea and practice, but now, with rising awareness, these recycled materials are more expensive than before, and some of the recycled materials are even 30 or 40% more expensive than new materials. That's why we see it as a new market. So in addition to recycling, we also want to cut down carbon emissions. I think our previous speaker mentioned that they have the largest emissions from Scope 1, but for us, after taking inventory of our products, we see that we have more emissions in Scope 2 instead of Scope 1, meaning that we consume many energy, and we don't have that much emissions in Scope 1 and 3. Where do all the emissions come? Well, to produce or to process plastics, it consumes a lot of heat. In different stages of the production, we need heat, and heat comes from power. So 90% of our energy use comes from Scope 2. That's why we need to focus on this area and to further cut down emission in this scope. When we have internal discussions, many managers at our company said that we should think about how to cut down energy, to make energy more efficient. And then our CEO said, but this is not enough. We need to demonstrate a bigger vision. So our CEO asked us to use 100% renewable energy. So, of course, we joined RE100 in August, and we promised that we're going to use 100% renewable energy by 2050. It is very challenging, but since we've already committed to it, we have to move forward or toward this direction. But to achieve that, there are some things we have to do. So we introduced new management system, and we need to spot the sources of emission. We need to use energy more smartly, and we also need to talk to the suppliers of our equipment so that they know this is our goal. And in the past, maybe we focus on capacity and cost versus price. But now when we talk to the suppliers, our indicator is that they have to have enough energy efficiency before we are willing to purchase equipment from them. And we also want to create more green energy. We have 3 factories, and we have installed PV panels on our buildings. The roofs are all covered by panels now, but how much PV can we generate? Well, only 2% of our energy use is from these PV panels, so there's another 98% that we have to continue to work on. And we also want to purchase green energy from other sources. This is an ongoing project. Now, to wrap up what we do, we cut down carbon in production, in energy use, and then we end up with this roadmap. And the roadmap includes how we introduce more green energy, how we can purchase green electricity or generate this kind of power by ourselves. We want to introduce the use of recycled materials. If we can do all of these, then by 2050, our scenario will look like this. In production process, our carbon can be reduced to even, almost 0%. We can reduce it by 97%. And since we recycle the materials, we can reduce the carbon in materials by 60%. If we continue on this path, we may be able to reach our goal earlier than expected, so that our customers can receive nice products. They use plastics as containers for delicious food, but we don't want them to feel guilty for using plastics, because KYF hopes that all of our products by then will be from green sources. I would like to end here. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Ms. Linda Wang, the Sustainability Manager from IKEA North Asia. She's going to share with us IKEA a journey towards climate positive by 2030. So this is the topic 3 in our afternoon session, New Fashion of Green Living to an Eco-Friendly and Sustainable Future. Ms. Wang has a lot of experience in retail industry, and she has built a sustainable and circular supply chain for IKEA. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm very glad to have this opportunity to share with you how IKEA moved toward to a a net zero future. I would like to know if anyone here is engaged in renewable energy. No? Well, that's too bad. It's a pity because in my presentation you will see we really need the supply of renewable energy. As everyone knows that after COVID-19, or I have to say in the post-COVID-19 period, the economy is reviving and the carbon emission has increased by 5% compared to the previous years. So we are seeing that in the future, the climate crisis will be such a severe topic for us to deal with. So IKEA had made a promise that by 2030, we are going to become a climate positive company. And what does it mean by climate positive? We hope that by 2050 we can reach the goal of net zero. In other words, all our activities will emit zero carbon. And our goal in 2030 is climate positive. That is, with our supply chain around the world, we can reduce more carbon compared to the carbon we produce. So our goal is to reduce carbon emission by 70%. This is a very ambitious commitment. And around the world, IKEA, we have already entered the Paris Agreement, and we would like to control the temperature increase within 1.5 Celsius degree. And IKEA has joined many different climate initiatives, including RE100 and CO100, etc. So what is climate positive? For us, the first thing is to drastically reduce our carbon emission. And we have several steps to reach this goal. First of all, we need to reduce the carbon emission of our supply chain by 50%. The second step is to make ourselves a circular economy company. The third thing is to develop some products that can physicsate carbon within the soil. And in other words, we will not use new materials in terms of product production. We would like to recycle all the materials you use so that we can fixate carbon in the soil. And we would like to decouple our business growth with carbon emission. And we actually achieve this goal. So this is the carbon emission in our supply chain. So more than 42% of our carbon emission comes from our materials, including the wood, the timber we use for our tables, and the plastics we use for our products, as well as the food we provide. So that takes more than 40% of our carbon emission in the supply chain. And do you know how the percentage IKEA takes in the global carbon emission? Our carbon emission is around 200 million tons, and it takes like 1% of the total carbon emission comes from our supply chain. So in order to transform into a circular economy company, we need to reduce the carbon emission in our supply chain. So as I said before, we want to grow our business, but we would like to decouple it with carbon emission, and we have achieved this in the past 3 years. Every year you can see we have a great growth in our business, but in FY19 we reduced 0.8% of our carbon emission, and compared to FY20 to FY21, we reduced more than 20% of our carbon emission. So this is mostly because of the pandemic, because many of our stores closed, so that the carbon emission can reduce. But we will continue this trend in the future. And as I mentioned before, we want to make ourselves into a circular economy company, because that is the best way for us to reach the goal of zero emission. So starting from our product R&D, we only use recycled material. And some people would think that our products are not durable. It feels like only after a few years you have to get rid of our products. But we would like to improve this. We would like to help our customers to reuse our products, and also we can provide more maintenance service so that the product can be used in the long run, and it will not become like a disposable furniture. Also, we would like to have a new business model. In the past, it's like a linear business model. It's like I sell the product to you, you use it, and you dispose it. That is a linear business model. But we are looking forward to establish a circular business model. That is, for example, you can rent the furniture from us, and in the end, we will have the furniture back in our hands. We can find new ways to use these products. This is the new business model that we are building in many markets. So this is a picture you can see. This is at the 35th floor at Taipei 101. And we actually work with Taipei 101 on this furniture renting program. So if any enterprise is interested in this program, you can contact us. You can enjoy the atmosphere we created with IKEA products, and later we will recycle these products and reuse them. That is our program. In addition to work with our customers, we also have some internal policies. Internally, we would like to work with our customers and to prolong the life of our products. So in the future, in our stores, you will see a circular hub. So we can work with our customers to develop more business models. For example, repurchase. For example, at your house, you may have some great IKEA products, but you no longer need them and you don't want to just throw them away. Then you are welcome to come back and resell this product to us. And we have trained employees that can recover these furnitures or these products and make them look like new again. And then we can resell these products to our customers. By doing so, we can reduce the carbon emission and lower the temperature of the globe. And this is a picture of our employees doing the renewal treatment to our products. So we already have this in other countries, and maybe next year we will provide this service to Taiwanese customers. And we will also help or educate our customers to live a sustainable life in their houses, within their houses. So we have different workshops or events in our stores and helping the customers understand that they may not need to buy something new. They may be able to reuse their products or to use their products to help the community to have a new life. So, for example, the uniform or the apron our employee wearing now, it actually is made from the curtain we sold to our customers, because the curtains were old and usually people just throw them away. But we work with some charity groups, and we invite the parents of some disabled children to remake these curtains into aprons. So it's not only reuse the material, but also helping minorities in the society. And for IKEA, we feel very proud to be able to host this kind of event. These are short-term events, but our goal is to work with the customers and to embrace a new business model and also a new way of circular economy. In addition to circular economy, IKEA also promised that we hope in Taiwan, in the future, we can use 100% of renewable energy. We cannot tell you an exact timeline because currently we don't have stable renewable energy supplier. But I'm glad to have this opportunity to be here because later I can talk to the booth owners about renewable energy. And I believe that in the future, all the energy here in Taiwan, or most of the energy used in Taiwan, will be from renewable energy. So this is our new store in Taoyuan, and we use quite a lot portion of renewable energy here, and also the building itself is a green building, and it locates just by the HSR station. So that is how we reduce carbon emission at our stores, and also we invite or we encourage our customers to take THSR to come to our store so that it can also reduce the carbon emission of their traveling. In addition to the products and also the stores, I also mentioned that the food provided by IKEA also creates carbon emission, and this is the meatball. And I believe you all know that IKEA meatball is very famous around the world. But because the carbon emission of one meatball is 250 grams, so that is quite high. That is why starting from last year, we are developing this veggie meatball. We use soybean and also potato, etc. So we use all this plant to manufacture this vegan meatball. And in the future, in our restaurants, we will provide at least 50% of the vegetable-based food products, so that our customers in Taiwan can realize that yes, our food actually creates carbon in the world, and we can reduce carbon emission by choose different kind of food. So in the future, our goal is to use 100% of renewable energy, and also we would like to have more sustainable transportation. We hope that by 2030, our last mile delivery will be all in EVs or other zero carbon vehicles or transportation tools. These are very challenging goals for IKEA. We cannot achieve the goal all by ourselves. We need to work with others in order to achieve this goal. For example, in terms of EV, we have executives from Volvo here, and we know that EV are great, and we can also rent EV for us. But how about the charging problem? And also, is there any tax initiatives from the government? So it's not only the manufacturers or companies or enterprises has to take the responsibility, but also the whole infrastructure and the government should support these initiatives. And from the Commonwealth magazine, we see that 80% of the enterprise owners say that, yeah, we agree, renewable energy is great, and I agree with the 2050 target of net zero. But 70% of the enterprise owners say we don't have the budget for renewable energy yet. Their target would be like only 5% higher compared to regular energy. But because the price of renewable energy now is too high, most enterprise owners refuse to get involved in this area. So we need to think beyond our own companies. So take IKEA, for example. We should not only think from the IKEA's perspective, and also from the government. Government should think beyond the government position. We should think more and collaborate with each other. And I love this picture. It is a net zero society as I imagined, and everyone is part of the problem. No one is an outsider. And in order to achieve a net zero future, we need to be a part of the solution. So there are still a lot we need to do in the future, and only with everyone work together, held hands together, we can achieve this future. Thank you very much.
谢谢，请留步。我们接下来要请下午。
Thank you very much, Linda Wang. And now I would like to invite all the speakers from the afternoon to come up to the stage for a group photo. I would like to invite Benjamin Kuo up to the stage for a photo.
我们有请两位贵宾先把口罩暂时拿下来。
Feel free to remove your masks.
非常感谢两位精辟的演讲，为我们带来非常精彩的内容。好，请帮我们比个赞。谢谢两位精彩的演说，让我们的高峰会让大家。
Thank you so much, Mr. Benjamin Kuo and Ms. Linda Wang, for your wonderful presentations. We would like to thank you for being part of today's forum. This is the end of today's forum. We would like to thank MOEA, Bureau of Energy, Green Energy Industry Promotion Center, ECCT, SEMI, and TITRA